This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today a UFO has crashed into the woods. We're gonna go check it out and see what's going on. We're gonna be trying to figure out the rules to get through the force field to see this visitor. One player is going to be the visitor, and they're going to have an accomplice called the kid who's rode their bike to see what's been going on, and they're going to be working together and try to gain trust, where all the other players are agents of FBI and different agencies, and they're going to be trying to win the game on their own by using induction techniques to try to figure out what's the rule that gets through the force field. Today we're looking at Visitor in Blackwood Grove. This is for 3 to 6 players. It is a Target exclusive coming out on August 1st. I'm going to show you how it's played. I'll see you on the other side. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to be given a role. Always there'll be one visitor, that's sort of the alien, there'll be one kid, and then there'll be at least one agent. And if there's more than 3 players, then the rest of these agents will be used, like the CIA, NSA, FBI, or DOE. Now, none of these have any special abilities or anything like that, but you can consider this as being 2 different teams. You have this side and this side, meaning the visitor and the kid are going to try to be winning together, where the agents can try to win on their own or as a team as well. So here we have the game set up for 3 players. We have the visitor sitting here, the agent sitting here, and the kid sitting here. Remembering the kid and the visitor are on a team together, and this one agent is by themselves. So at the beginning of the game, there's going to be 2 cards flipped face up like this that have some interesting artwork. Now, the visitor is going to look at those, and they're also going to get 14 cards in their hand that has artwork similar to this, but all different things in their hand. Now, based upon those 14 cards, they're going to keep 7 of them, and based upon these 2 cards and the 7 that they decide to keep, they're going to come up with a rule as to which types of items or cards can make it through the force field onto this board here, and which ones will be kept out, all based upon some arbitrary rule. Now, the game actually comes with 13 cards that you can use as suggestions as what to do, or variants of these things to do for rules. For example, I could select things that contain metal, or maybe any other material, or things that contain squares, or maybe circles or triangles or things like that, or things that contain red or blue or yellow or whatever you have you. So there's 13 of these different cards, and your first time playing you'll want to use these, but once you know the game well, you can start to use your own pass rules that you can make up. So let's say in this case, we're going to say things that contain metal. Now, the visitor is picking this, and they're picking it secretly. So now based upon that, now remember the visitor is still going to have 7 cards in their hand, but they're going to need to classify these now. Now they're going to put this out because it did not make it through the rule and through the force field, and they're going to place this here. The Zeppelin definitely has some metal there. So the visitor knows this is in because it has metal, this is out because it does not, and throughout the game the other players are trying to figure out what that rule is. So then it's going to start clockwise from the visitor. It's going to go through all the agents. The kid always gets the last turn of the round. When it's an agent's turn, normally what they'll be doing is testing the theory and what the rule is. So they'll take one of the 7 cards that's in their hand, and they'll secretly give it to the alien. So let's say he secretly gave us this card here, which are sunglasses. So the alien knows that yes, these have metal, so they're going to pass. So what they're going to do is they're going to place it right here next to the board near their marker here, and they're going to place the CIA on there. So this player knows that this made it through the force field, but it doesn't actually take up one of the face-up things because this is secret. So now the visitor knows what card this is, and the CIA agent can always look here, but they're the only one that can see there, and they're going to start over the course of time having cards here, and then possibly even having cards that did not make it off of the force field with things on it here. So they can always see which ones made it, which ones didn't, but only this agent gets to see what they've tested. So let's say it's the kid's turn. They start with 7 cards as well, and what they do is at the beginning of the game, they're going to be placing, one of the things they can do is try to predict. And so they'll take a card and they'll place it face up so everyone can see it, and they'll predict whether or not this will make it through the force field or not, and they'll say whether they think it's going to make it through or not. In this case, they look at this, they go, you know what, maybe it's things that fly, or things that are in the air. So the kid goes like this and goes, I think it's going to make it through the force field. Well, and then the visitor will say out loud whether it does or it doesn't. In this case, they said, nope, sorry, it doesn't. So they just leave it out here just like that. So everyone knows that this is in and these 2 things are out. Then it'll be the next player's turn. However, instead of this card, let's say the kid selected this card. It's a guitar. Guitar has metal strings and metal things. And the kid said, yes, I think it's going to get through. And let's say it did get through. It goes here. Now the kid can press his luck. He can either stop or he can continue going. He can do this up to 3 times. Now, if he continues going, and the next card he plays is this and says, I think it's going to get through, and he's wrong, well, he's busted and it ends his turn. However, if he continues to go, he can do this up to 3 times, and when he stops, if he has not busted, he'll get to move up on a trust track. So if they're able to move up 1, he'd move here, his trust is 1, and now the kid get to draw 2 cards. If the kid had gone for twice and then got them both right and stopped, he'd be able to go up 2 and using each of the things that are there. So he'd be drawing cards. Now, once they get to certain levels, certain abilities are going to, powers are going to unlock. Now the kid can prove the pass rule instead of predicting cards, which means instead of trying to predict, they can actually try to win the game by predicting what the actual pass rule is. And we'll go over that in just a moment, but as the trust goes up, the kid's going to be able to get more cards, the agents are going to have to reveal cards, it's going to get easier for the kid and the visitor to win. And as he gets to different levels, certain things are going to happen, so the card that the visitor classifies on their turn is face down for the kid. So now, the other players are going to have a hard time seeing what's going on between the kid and the visitor, and then once you get to this level, the first card that the kid predicts on each turn is face down. So as the kid gets more and more trust, it gets better and easier for them and the visitor together. Now when it gets to the visitor's turn, if that trust was 0 to 2, then they classify a card face up from their hand. They basically have to take a card, put it face up, and say whether it gets in or not. But if the trust on the kid is 3 or more, they secretly classify a card from their hand face down, and only the kid gets to see that. Now we've talked a little bit about proving. We said the kid can try to prove after he gets trust of 2 or more. We talked about the agents are mostly testing on their turn, but they can also try to prove as well. To prove, they're going to take 4 cards off the top of the deck. And based upon those cards, they're going to predict whether these cards are going to make it or not. So if it's closer to the board, it's making it. If it's not, it's not. And they will predict. So let's say this player thought these were going to make it, but these weren't. So what happens is as they do that, the visitor is going to set up these visitor tokens here, and going left to right, lining up with these cards, if the token is on this, then it makes it through. If it's not, it doesn't. So they're going to see if it's right. This player will reveal, will say, you know what, it was metal. So this is the only one that would have made it in, which is why this 3rd card left to right has a thing here, and these other ones are wrong. So if even one of them were wrong, they did not get through. And if it was the agent, then the kid actually gets 2 trust. If they were right, then that agent would win by themselves. If the kid was the one that predicted and they got it right, then the kid and the visitor win. And if the kid was wrong, then simply the kid's turn is over. Now as the game goes on, cards that are outside here face up. There can only be 8 of those, just like there's 8 of these, and if more cards come, they start to cover cards that are already there. And so again, the visitor and the kid win if the kid is able to predict the rule, or if the big object deck ever runs out of cards, where a single agent will win if they're able to correctly predict it, or all agents win together if the visitor runs out of the cards that are in their hand. Well, there's Visitor in Blackwood Grove. Let's first touch the things that I liked about it. Very cool theme, 80s, sort of UFO crashes, you're in there. It just inducts that thing of, hey, the visitor's there, the kid is curious, they're trying to build trust. I like the theme of this, where many deduction games tend to be somewhat abstracted. This one at least builds a theme around it. I love the 2 versus many concept. I love 1 versus many, but 2 versus many, I don't think I had played a game like this before, where 2 people are working together and all the other ones are sort of working on their own. And it's a really cool concept that works well here. I like when the visitor is giving clues out. They're trying to save their best clues. When they make the rule early at the beginning of the game, they get to choose those 7 of the 14 cards, and they're trying to, get cards that, give some sort of information, but not the best, but also have a few of them that are really probably the best clues. And as the game goes on, they're trying to sort of not give the best clues until the kid has enough trust that they can start to give the kid the best clues face down so the agents can't see it. And I like it has sort of that gameriness side where you're not just a moderator as the visitor. You're actually an integral part of the game, and there's a gameriness to which cards you play and when do you play them. So I like that aspect of it. Essentially, this is induction with creativity. So, you're trying to test different theories and see what happens, but it's not just pure logic. It's not like this is a red triangle and this is a blue square and you're logically testing things. This is more of a touchy-feely creative type of thing where you're, which one of these things is not like the other type of thing, where you're looking at them and really trying to think in very different creative ways to see which things go in and which things go out, and I like that aspect of it. It is definitely a quick and interesting filler. I mean, the game, it says on the box 5 to 15 minutes. I'd say that's accurate. We have had a couple of our games end, within the first round at 5 minutes. We've had some that go all the way through to the end. 15 minutes sounds about right for that. Now, this was inspired partly by a game called Zendo, which is very much like this game, where there's a moderator and everyone else trying to figure it out. But that one's much more logic dependent, where you have the triangles and the squares and different colors. You're trying to figure out what's in and out. And this takes that aspect and changes it, where now you have a partner that's more gamery and it puts a theme on it. But it is definitely very different, where this is again more creative, where Zendo is more logic driven. So a lot to like about this game. It's definitely fresh and new and unique, and I give it thumbs up for that. Now, some of the things that I didn't like about the game, you have to make judgment calls as the visitor. Something comes up, and it could really throw people off. For example, I had one that said, I made up a rule that said, things that make noise, and I had different things out there that were making noise. And then someone put up a watch, and it wasn't an electronic watch, it was just a little hand watch. Does it make noise? Well, it might. Maybe if you put your ear up to it, maybe you can hear it ticking, so theoretically it makes noise, but does it make noise just on its own? Can you just hear it in normal things? So sometimes you're gonna have to make judgment calls, and based upon how people perceive that, it could sort of throw them off. Now, the game's hard enough as it is to try to figure out that rule, and sometimes some of those judgment calls might put somebody away. It might pretty much make them, throw off their induction, if you will. So judgment calls can kind of cloud the game a little bit as to what to do. Now, the game does come with some cards to give you suggestions of types of rules, and it also gives you a guide in the rulebook as to what are good types of rules, what are bad types of rules. But I really wish they had come out with an app that had many more randomized rules that are suggested that work well. Even the ones, and I like how some of the cards give you a rule, but then they give you some variants. It could be, hey, something that costs more than $100, but then you don't use anything, or it contains this shape or whatever. But I would have really liked to have a lot other approved type of ones, because the game can really go sideways. It really hinges on those rules. And so I really wish they had come out with an app with more rules to do that with. Another negative that might rub people the wrong way is you can actually win without even knowing the rule. You can prove it, get the 4 cards, and you can do the thing and then go, yeah, you're right. What was the rule? I think maybe this? No, you weren't even close, but you got it right. And some ways that's bad. Some people might not like that, but other ways it's kind of cool, because it's like, I didn't know the exact rule, but based upon what I see there and based upon here, I'm giving my best guess as to what might go and might not, and you might win, and some people might think that's cool. So that can go either way, but it can leave a bad taste in some people's mouth. And again, you could play the game and someone could have had a bad rule, and you play for 15 minutes, you get to the end and nobody knew it, and you're like, oh, well, we never would have gotten that. But the game is only 15 minutes. It's not the end of the world. This is one of those games where you're going to play it, and you're going to pretty much play it 3 or 4 times, let everybody be the visitor. So overall, I definitely recommend this. It's unique, it's cool, it uses induction, it's got some good gameriness to it, and that is Visitor in Blackwood Grove.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.